Lofty AI super ticked at me right now. And, it is what it is. But all I did was I shared my latest experience with Lofty. And, well, it kind of got called out by the Lofty AI founder, and that's fine. That's his right to do so. But I think it illustrates something bigger, like a bigger problem in the crypto ecosystem. So I think this is worth highlighting, not just for, drama farming, although I guess I am drama farming a little bit, but okay, here we go. Let's lock in because let's see let's just start with what I posted, which I think was pretty benign, but let's talk. All right, so I said, just as an update, 3 of my remaining properties on Lofty AI. I probably should have said just 3 of my properties. 3 of my remaining properties on Lofty AI are earning any rent money. And yeah, I probably worded that someone kind of like, it was a little awkward of a wording, but it wasn't wrong. It just was maybe awkward, read a little awkward. And all of the tokens are worth less than I paid for them by quite a bit. So what are we talking about? So on Lofty AI, just to back up, on Lofty AI, you buy fractional shares of real estate, or at least that's the promise, right? And so the idea is like, real estate's pretty expensive to get into. This is like a lower cost way to do that. And you do that by, you can buy $50 tokens. Now that's a really low barrier to entry. Let's just be clear about that. These aren't 500 or 1,000. These are $50. So just about anyone can buy them. It's very easy to buy them. And let's just keep that in mind. So now the idea is you're buying properties that are going to be rental properties. You're not just buying like, a house for whatever. You're buying, you can buy single family homes. I think that was most of the ones in the beginning. They started adding multifamily. And so, but $50, you're going to earn like a fraction of the rent paid out daily. And it's a pretty small amount. You're not getting like a ton. Okay. But I thought, well, that sounds kind of cool. You have these tokens and it's like having a token and earning yield. Big mistake on my part, maybe. Okay. But that's what we do. We try things out. We see how it goes and we bring you the results. And the results is, yeah, it's about 13. And I probably should have put the total in there. No, it's probably about 3 of 10. I think I have like 10 left. I'd have to go check. I've been trying to sell them whenever it's possible. Not easy to do. And that's a whole nother issue on there for sure. But anyway, so 3 of my properties are earning rent. 1 of them was earning like barely any. So only 2 are like paying a significant amount of rent. Most of them, not at all, which is crazy. If I owned a set of 10 properties in the real world, the idea that like most of them wouldn't be like bringing in rent is crazy. It just wouldn't happen. Okay. Anyway, so that's what I said. And you can see it got pretty good views, right? Well, this is the co-founder of Lofty and of Alpha Arcade also. And Keybs for all the custom mechanical keyboards. I didn't know about that actually. I just saw that. No longer following me, it appears. Oops. Anyway, it says, I guess it's time for my annual address on what Lofty is and isn't. Lofty is a marketplace for real estate. Instead of buying and selling entire properties, you can buy and sell fractional ownership of the equity instead. Tokens are the equity, which means you have legal ownership and can do whatever an owner can do. We do not manage assets for you. Fine. But they have property managers, right? So you manage them yourselves with your co-owners voting on and proposing things using your ownership. There are property managers who handle the basic day-to-day tasks. Now listen, if I were a property manager, I want them basically collecting rent. I want them fixing the problems. What else do I need to do? Like, anyway, but you are responsible for monitoring their performance and keeping them accountable as the owners. If the owners completely check out for a year, they should not be surprised to come back and find that their assets aren't performing as they expected. Like, what? Meaning what? What am I supposed to do? This is what I don't get. What am I supposed to do? I mean, I can vote on things. Okay, cool. And you just keep looking for new property managers. How is it? Why couldn't Lofty work with property managers to make sure they have decent property managers? If you owned your rental property, not just completely ignore every email update from your property manager, tenant, or capital call. Lofty works the same way. Just because you do this online doesn't mean you can just walk away and ignore things. If you want a completely passive real estate investment, there are RITs and other managed funds you can deploy to, which I think probably is a way better option. Because let's see the now here he says in this particular user's case, if he believes that the equity tokens are trading below the property's market value. It takes him 5 minutes to draft up a government proposal to sell the property on real estate market. Okay, so let's pull this apart. Oh, by the way, it would appear that over the years he has proposed 0 votes on anything. So, first off, I don't remember them ever saying that as an expectation. When I've listened to interviews with them, they make it sound like, oh, you just own these tokens and you get some rent and cool, So fine, if that's not the case, fine. But then what's the value proposition here? This is what I'm trying to understand. So the value proposition is apparently you can have all the headaches of real estate with way less control than you would have if it was your own property, right? So I have to spend all this time trying to convince other people to do something wise for the property, apparently, right? For owning like a $50 token, or what? Some I have like the McDonald's one, I have 70. I have 6 tokens. I own $300 worth. So for $300 worth of real estate, I have to do all the work that I would normally do, plus really more work, because I'm convincing other people to go along with my idea. This is what, that's crazy, by the way. So fine, whatever, the other idea, but here's the real problem with what he's saying. This literally addresses nothing about my central point. You don't own a fractional share of the real estate. You own some token roughly based on that real estate that isn't actually correlated with the price of the actual real estate. So a good example. So I own this Miami property, and the token went from being worth $50 to being worth like $13. So almost a fifth under the value, almost a fifth under the value. How is this a good thing? How is that an actual fractionalized share of the value? It's not. Instead, I said I've been done with Lofty for a while. Definitely done now. Yeah, absolutely. I said, but sure, the problem is I didn't vote enough. It's like, what the actual hell? And also I said, thanks for sharing my activity on your platform. That's a real dick move. I think that is a dick move. So the central point I want to make is, we were sold the promise of this being a share of the actual real estate value. So if I own $50 and the value goes up, my $50 should go up to like, 52 or 53. And that's how it was. And then all of a sudden they added automatic market makers, and then that just disappeared. Now all the tokens are worth. So his response was like something like, "Oh, you could just propose a vote to sell it and then get your share." I'm like, so I have to sell the entire property just to get what it's actually worth. That's everyone has to sell the property for us to get what it's worth. Now that's happened a couple times. But I've been done with this. I've been trying to get out of this thing for a long time. It's really hard to unwind. I think they finally added it so the automatic market maker would work with an outside wallet. I was asking for that for years. Basically it was brushed off, by the way, when I asked for this stuff. But here's the bigger problem. Here is the bigger problem. This is the founder attitude that I find absolutely insidious. If the product doesn't work right, if it doesn't address your needs, it's your fault. It's not that maybe the product just doesn't do what it's supposed to do, but it's your fault for not, understanding it's actually worse than it was promised. And this is a problem I see more in crypto than I see in the outside world. And it's really, really frustrating. So stay here, Abby. So I don't know what to do about this. Green Blue Algo says, is it possible property value went down substantially? How is this calculated? Yeah, okay, good point. So I actually looked at the Miami property. First off, the idea that it would go down by 4/5 or 3/5, more than 3/5, not likely, but I did actually check. No, it didn't. The value actually went up. So the problem is they're actually decoupled from the actual price. And that's a problem. Because of the automatic market maker, the tokens have their own value that is not tied to the actual real estate. So that's a problem. I mean, that just ruins the whole thing. In my opinion, that just screws the whole thing. So this is the drama with Lofty. This is my frustration, and that's fine. You know, you want to I'm gonna follow him. Bye. R.I.P. Yeah, absolutely. I'm sorry. You know, I'm always gonna call it the way it is. If people don't like it, too bad. You know, if you guys want to get into it, you know, that's up to you. I really think, to me, it's just the worst of both worlds. It's like all the work apparently of owning a real estate, but you don't have any control, or you have like a limited control because you have tons of other fractionalized owners, and I just don't see the point. But you don't get the upside of like owning real estate. You get like tax benefits. Also, by the way, it's like a taxing nightmare. I was kind of doing it in a hodgepodge way. I was just counting the income basically. But really, you're supposed to do individual taxes for each of these properties, which they also didn't really make clear up front. So I'm just like really soured on fractional real estate in general. Like, it sounds like a cool idea. And by the way, Ondo addressed that pricing decoupling because their stocks are tied to the actual asset price. That's really, really important in my opinion. You can't have these being opposites. It just doesn't make sense. So anyway, and Blue Green says, how is this not an orange grove? I'm not sure what that means. I'm not sure what you mean by that. But yeah, I'm not a huge, I'm just done with it. It is what it is. We got more, by the way. More Algorand news. So I'm not done with that. Really short one that I want to cover here is apparently Folks is already a bot on already a prize on Algorand. I think there's a Folks bot, and you can actually earn Folks, which is pretty cool. I think we had Simon. I think that was Simon that we had in our chat from Cosmic Champs before. So I got one more too. I wanted to talk about this one because there's been a lot of discussions about liquidity, and it looks like Fred Estante has talking about this. Definitely, I saw that you tagged me in another comment, but that was very late in seeing it. Have newborn. Okay, liquidity has obviously always been. Oh yeah, go champ. Simon B in the chat. What's up? What's up? Liquidity has always been a big problem of our ecosystem since the very beginning when Tinyman first launched. Over the years, Algorand Foundation tried many tricks to increase TVL and volume, and although we had some temporary good results, nothing was sticky. I'm personally not a big fan of incentives programs because as soon as they dry out, there's always the next foundation offering higher yields next door, and the vast majority of TVL isn't faithful. They will chase that yield, as they should, really. So I appreciate that he acknowledges this. You notice what he's not doing? You notice what he's not doing? He's not blaming the user. He's saying, yeah, you're going to chase yield, of course. When we did a thorough analysis about the possibility of Algorand Foundation deploying from its own treasury into LPs, and as it turns out, it's a very bad idea from a legal and regulatory perspective. That's what we were told from both internal and external counsel. We can provide liquidity in lending markets and some other classes of products, but not algo in DEX. Oh, there you go. There's something. Oh, Howey test is based on the fractional ownership of an orange grove. I'll have to look at that. The key issue here is mainly about algo itself, so we have high confidence that we'll be able to deploy the ASAs in our treasury into LPs. Looking into it and seems possible, so we should have a final answer and hopefully action soon. Interesting. They have ASAs in their treasury? I wonder what ASAs they have in their treasury and how much. That's actually kind of interesting. Going back to the liquidity issue, after exploring many avenues, including giving zero interest loan to DeFi protocols in our ecosystem to deploy on our behalf, realized that the best course of action is to try and bring the big boys into the game. Yes, on-chain market makers. It's a very predatory business model. If you think you know how predatory it is, 10x that. We've been in long conversations with all the top ones in the industry and then more. We've received lots of proposals and an excellent process led by my colleagues Amar and John, and we are in the process of evaluating and negotiating. It's not a done deal yet, so I can't promise if it will indeed happen, but we're advancing strongly, and we have a feeling this can potentially happen. Good morning, says Jackson Crawford. Welcome here. Green Blue says Haystack and some other subsidize their pairs. Some of these entities, which I obviously can't name as of now, are much more than simple MMs. They set up vehicles for the ecosystem, attract other institutional LPs for key assets of interest, and help grow the ecosystem through a wide set of initiatives, which also line up well with the strategy that BD and capital markets teams are working for: tokenization, stablecoin payments, remittances, and more. No contract has been signed, so nothing I can promise as of now in terms of more details or deadlines, but trust me when I say we have some incredible people internally working hard at this. We want to solve it ASAP, but we want to solve it the right way while protecting the Algorand Foundation at the same time. So I think this is a really good answer. What I like about it is it's just straight up transparent. And by the way, this is Algo Scout who kind of brought this off. Alpha also has the Alpha Arcade badge. I'm still amazed that I have it, by the way. It's being worked on. I think liquidity is being worked on, and I think that's really important. I'm glad to see that.